If a performance car of the year falls in a forest and nobody watches, did it actually happen? Epistemic details next. I'm John Cadogan from AutoExpert.com.au, and I get new cars cheap for buyers here in Strayan. Website for that, obviously. Or you can just click the card that's up there now, dude. 5 renowned geniuses that nobody's ever heard of statistically, in other words, the creme de la creme of Australian motoring journalism, recently concluded an irrelevant $500,000 three-pronged suppository supercar goes rooly fast. Who knew? In related news, sky remains blue, trees definitely still green, water, wettest substance ever. That's verified. And the Pry Mincer, still a complete waste of self-promoting space. Yes. But now, our Soul Media, proud owners of the Jack Kevorkian Motoring Magazine collection, yes, they still print them. No, I don't know why either. I suppose it's important to preserve our proud motoring heritage, despite the cost. Our Soul Media continued its onslaught of irrelevant awards this week, entertainingly, with the unveiling of yet another bullshit car of the year. This time from Motor. Remember that? Motor Manual, Modern Motor, lately just Motor, soon Ouija Board Motor. Yes. Of all the bullshit car of the years, see what I did there? Motor's bullshit performance car of the year is my favourite. Bupicotti. Yes. Wheels has Bupicotti, and of course it's just so glamorous, but as everyone who's ever tried both agrees, Bupicotti is better in the sack, metaphorically. A lot better. And isn't that always the way, I ask you? Such a solid formula too. You take a publication nobody buys and you dole out an award nobody cares about to a car that only an elite multi-millionaire would ever purchase, as defined by a handful of, let's call them, interesting dudes who could never, in their wildest Technicolor fantasies, actually purchase such a car. This is how the cake of irrelevance gets baked. The Bupicotti is usually a $500,000 Porsche supercar, but in a daring break from convention, Bupicotti 2021 is a $500,000 three-pronged suppository supercar. That's a pretty bold departure. Think you'd agree? And, predictably enough, the crowd goes wild. Yes. And of course, by goes wild, I mean didn't give a shit, mainly by virtue of not existing. The highly anticipated Bupicotti announcement was a gag reflex-worthy, made-for-YouTube extravaganza of basic video production mismanagement, where this guy, with his daring pocket square, apparently addressed a crowd which seemed to me not to be present. He looked at everyone who wasn't there, except of course you in the audience, but hey, you weren't there either, so I guess that's fair. Then these two stroked each other's, let's call them vegetables, rather a lot. Before I knew it, I was foot-tapping and humming all my favourite tunes in the Navy, YMCA, Wanna Break Free, personal favourite. Like that. I found it most entertaining indeed, in other words. A dude on the left is a non-judge, and he's just there, I suppose, because he can say 2 sentences without tripping over his tonsils. On the right, one of my favourite motoring quote-unquote journalists, Andy Enright, MBA, computer IT dude, if memory serves. He's a guy who could, well, let him tell you.
I could nerd out about this all day, talk about roll centres and roll moment.
No, I really don't think you could, Andy. Personal opinion. Not without a lot more preparation than you apparently did for this one. All day. Such a big call. Take it from someone who actually studied rotational kinematics, seemingly without end. Roll centres and roll moments all day, nerding out. Let's see it, dude. I double dead, desiccated dingo's donger, dare ya. Let us in on what you know about that. In fact, you two geniuses, and using the term loosely, you didn't even nerd out about it, unquote, once, even a little in your quaint video presentation, despite your claim that these vaguely alluded to dynamic tweaks are what actually got Mercedes' aging GT over the Bipicotti line. Hashtag fail. If I were a viewer, and hey, I did endure it, I was one of the few, I'd want to see more of that and less of the metaphoric vegetable stroking, frankly. I'm kind of funny like that. I'd love to meet the director of this distinctive production just to see what we had in common. I don't think that would take too long. Nerd out all day dude, when he was bridesmaid on wheels, actually said the McLaren 720S, quote, wears the visage of a deep-sea ambush predator. Nobody watched that video either, statistically. I don't know why. It's had 1,000 views in 3 months. But I guess it's brave to talk like that, no matter the size of the audience. Think you'd agree. There's a 720S right now on the production line at the McLaren Technology Centre in Woking, Brexitania, right there. Getting the final paint just Goldilocks. Rounding out the Bipicotti judging panel were former ACP Magazine's mail delivery boy, Glenn Butler, who went on, of course, memorably, to be the Shitsville PR dude for Jeep. Pretty tough gig. You'd need both Kevlar plates in the vest for that one, most days. So, he can fight. Then there's recently former work experience kid Louis Cordoni. If I were a multi-millionaire scouring the internets for another irrelevant car from my power seat in the hot tub, I'd want to know what Louis thinks. I just would. It'd be kind of like talking to one of my kids about it. Kurt Dupre. He's a freelancer, needs the coin. I've been there, done that. Unless, of course, he has some undisclosed wear-it-like fetish about room sharing in a rat's nest motel for several days. That's always fun. Such a glamorous gig, being a Bipicotti judge. I mean, I've done it once. My favourite judge, however, is, of course, Australia's preeminent expert on 2021 Subaru Outback paint and panel durability, Scotty Newman. Scotty recently took a Subaru Outback to the Shitsville Outback, which is kind of a neat fit when you think about, and he brought it back, let's be kind, somewhat fucked. Oops-a-daisy. Pretty safe, I think, to assume that one won't be going out for press evaluations ever again. Shot-peened all over, essentially, as Elvis almost said. Scotty should thus, in my view, write the definitive guide for consumers on why buying a demonstrator is probably a potentially bad idea. Very bad when I think about it. He is suddenly the voice of experience on that one. Look, to be fair on this, it was just a simple case of turned left when we should have turned right at Dingo Piss Creek kind of thing. Zigged when we should have remained home and written a few easy news fillers instead. Rookie error, like, we've all been there, dude. These are the chaps who make these lofty decisions for the billionaires too dumb to figure out what car makes their wallet look sufficiently obese, which lands them the crazy hot babes. Yes. Here's the thing about awards like Bipicotti. If you're a dying medium using a dying business model, you could go out with dignity, or you could splash your proximity to the next life right up there in lights. Motor boldly chose the latter this year. Bupicotti was unveiled at 7:30 p.m. Wednesday. That's when the Village People package went public on YouTube, and I started involuntarily a-humming and a-tapping along. It's the biggest gig on the motor calendar. What a great pity, I think, that nobody gave a shit, statistically. I recorded this package, which you're watching right now, slightly more than 36 hours after the big Bupicotti announcement. And by then, the Bullshit Performance Car of the Year package had amassed a staggering 3,700 views. Yes, roughly 100 sufferers for every hour. Paint dries about that fast. I know, I've watched. In a rare moment of candour, I find this thing quite sad, really. When you look at it, when you distill it down to the core problem, it saddens me. Speaking as a former motor contributor, but the numbers speak for themselves, and they are facts, and it's always a mistake to ignore the facts. And if I were motor, I would be extremely concerned that this is kind of definitive evidence of audience absence, and it's live now for anyone to see, especially potential advertisers. So look, if you've made it this far into this report, please don't subscribe to my channel. If you plan on studying philosophy, right, this is called a false dichotomy. Look it up. Google knows everything. Don't subscribe to my channel. Dude, I've already got sufficient subscribers. Go over to Motor and subscribe to Motor's channel instead. Do it now. I know they're still using a bullshit formula. They're trying to do Top Gear badly with no budget or charisma, and they're doing that well. But think about it, like doing your bit to preserve our motoring heritage. I'm pretty sure some people still keep carrier pigeons. Is this such a big ask, I ask you? They're trying, however, ineffectively. Motor has pumped out an incredible 423 videos over 6 long years, and yet amassed only 12,500 of you ungrateful bastards. That's the number who have seen fit to nudge the subscribe button, and that's pathetic in my view. Turn this frown upside down immediately. You can help. Do them a solid right now and help preserve this endangered species today. Dude, it doesn't mean you have to watch. Like, nobody expects that. I'm certainly not asking you to do that, like cruel and unusual punishment. Look at it instead like a sympathy fuck.